2024, starting off the new year with a new podcast vibe. I'm not going to say a new podcast just because the podcast has been going on. We can talk about that on a different story. But this year, I wanted to focus my energy on connecting with people, and especially connecting with people that I know and that I grew with, and that there were so many events and opportunities that I shared space with these people and have a different aspect to it. So today, for the very first guest, I wanted to invite someone that embodied that vision. And when I say I grew with this person, is I grew as an on air personality, a media personality. I grew as an individual, and a lot of it was because of this person. And when I say that, there was like the opportunity was given. I mean, we're going to talk about all of that when we get to it. But this person is a very talented media personality on air. Started off with me at Power 106 and is now doing her thing with iHeart. Nonetheless, I want to give it up for Gabby Diaz. Hey, Gabby Diaz, what's up?
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Hey.
When you said that intro right now, I started thinking about it and I'm like, damn, we do kind of like go back. Like there's a couple of things that have happened that are definitely like predominant in my memory, you know? So like, yeah, it's been a long time.
And there's a lot of questions that I have too, that I've always meant to ask you, but I think we just weren't in that space, especially you as a boss, because you were a boss for me for a while, so couldn't just straight up ask you these questions.
I would have probably answered. I'm down.
But you know, Gabby, you've come a long way in your own journey, and I want to highlight that in this episode. But first and foremost, just how are you,
man? Thanks for asking. I appreciate it. I'm good. I think I'm definitely in a better space. 2023 was a really hard year for me. So I think with 24 starting out, I just really needed like a fresh outlook on things a little bit.
Yeah.
So I'm just happy for the new year. I'm ready. I've been in the gym. I've been, making vision boards and shit.
You go. I mean, I feel like vision boards, I definitely took part in that this year. So my vision board has a picture of Aaron Donald from the Rams.
Okay.
I'm just trying to get my body right.
No, I feel you. I think we could both, talk about that because last year I made it a really big point to like get in the gym, and it's just made such a big difference. And considering how bad of a year it was for me, I don't know how that would have gone if I didn't have the workouts.
Yeah, right.
You know what I mean?
Definitely. I think I did a post today too, saying like lifting weights has been a therapy for me, and
dude,
been doing a lot of therapy lately.
I'm telling you, I've been lifting too, like crazy.
See you doing the boxing thing too, man.
Yeah, I gotta let my aggression out.
Who hurt you, bro?
I've been through some things. Things happen. This industry hurt me.
Listen, we can go way back, and we can reminisce here.
Totally.
Right. I don't even know what year it is. My memory is not that great at that point. I think it was 2014
that you got hired.
That I got hired. That you hired me.
Right.
You were the on-air promotion coordinator at Power 106, and I mean, shit, I don't even remember how I came across.
I remember.
Okay.
Because you know why? I had like 12 interviews that day.
Yeah.
And I remember you came in a suit.
Nah,
dog. I swear you had not a suit, okay, but you had like slacks, a nice shirt on, you had a tie on, you were snazzy, you had the dress shoes on. Like it was, and I remember Diana Jason, who was the marketing coordinator at the time or director, and she had told me, she's like, that's how you dress to an interview, because we literally had everybody coming in streetwear. It's Power 106. You want to look cool. You want them to think that you fit the vibe or whatever, right? So you had your little slacks on and your shirt, and I remember she was so impressed by that. And you ended up being like really dope. So we hired you at that time. But I just remember you walking in and seeing. I was like, oh, this guy came professional. Okay,
you gotta stay ready at all times. I keep slacks in my trunk all the time.
Hey, it's better to be prepared. I'm not mad at it.
I'm always gonna be interview ready.
You gotta be. You never know what could happen.
I remember. I don't remember that, but I do remember the audition at a park across the street from the station, right? And I think the turntables that you guys had brought out too had like a lot of like
problems.
Yeah,
because that's what happens on the streets.
And so
that's what happens at our events.
Y'all were all like, "This shit's gonna happen, and you guys got to deal with this. So show us how you gonna deal with it."
Yeah, because honestly, that was the reason why I did that, because I had so many problems with my employees at that time calling me like, this isn't working. This is that. We don't have this wire. And I'm like, okay, look, sometimes we're not going to have that stuff. So what are you going to do?
Yeah.
Like, how are you going to be prepared? You know? And that was the one thing that I would try with my street teamers anyway at the time was like, hey, I want to put you in situations that you're going to be prepared in. And sometimes you're not going to be prepared.
Yeah. So that was an experience within itself. And I remember, you know, meeting you and I was like, oh, she's a boss. You know what I'm saying? She's out here putting in work. And you definitely carried yourself as a boss.
I needed to because people tried to play with me too much. Like there was a point in time where it was like, you know, you're the new person in that hallway and people are trying any which way they can to break you, you know? And I was like, you're not doing this. This is my street team. I worked hard to get here. And you're not going to play me, you know? So I really, and I honestly credit Diana Jason for that. Like, she was really hard on me. And there was a lot of times that I would cry in my car on my way home because it was hard, you know, but I appreciate her for that now, like looking back at it, because she gave me a thick skin that I was able to handle a lot that maybe some people couldn't.
Speaking about Diana, I remember the very few interactions I had with her where I would actually build up the bravery to go into her office because that shit was
It was scary. Trust me.
You gotta know what you're gonna say walking in there.
I know. My desk was outside of hers and I'd be scared going in there. Like I know exactly what you're talking about. But I mean, she definitely just wanted the best out of me and the street teamers, you know, but she had a way of showing us, you know, she was hard on all of us. So
for sure.
I get it.
I think people like that, especially in the industry, are probably one of the most realist people because they actually prepare you for
a lot
the shit you're not prepared for. Right?
Oh, 100%.
Do you think a lot of the shit that you weren't prepared for, you've dealt with already?
No, probably not. Because I feel like this industry is going to forever throw you curveballs. And it's bound to be the time that you're not prepared. You know, I think it's all in how you handle things, right? Unfortunately, this industry is a game. You know, I hate even saying that because I hate the game. I really hate playing it sometimes. I think that the politics can be too much. I feel like there's a lane for everybody. So when people start hating on each other and stuff like that really starts to bother me a lot. But as far as like being prepared for certain situations, you're never prepared. Like I said, I think it's just how you handle it. Like, I'll give you a scenario here. When I left Power to go to Wild 94.9 in the Bay, that's when Big Boy was going across the street to Real. That's when Real was about to launch, and everybody thought I was going to Real because I was part-time on air on Power. I was looking for a full-time gig. Everybody knows that you got to leave to hopefully come back, you know, and that was hard for me. I had never been anywhere but LA. I'm born and raised. I'm an LA girl, you know, like, so going to the Bay Area where they're so like prideful and so like Warriors, Giants. Like I remember walking into the building at Wild and them telling me, oh, you're from LA. We're not going to get along. And I was like, wait, what? Like, this is not Hollywood over here. Okay, relax. But what I was trying to get to was at Power, when I had got the job offered to me, the contract was on the table. They were about to move Cruz into mornings. Justin was still going to be at nights. Cruz was still doing nights with Justin at that time. And I remember going into Jimmy Steele and telling him, like, hey, look, I have this contract on the table for Wild 94.9. But I just want you to hear me one night with Justin. Like, let me go in with him. You know, let me just show you what I can do with, like, having a co-host. You haven't heard that from me, you know? And he just looked at me. He's like, you need to go to San Francisco. Like, didn't even want to give me the chance. Nothing, you know?
Free work, dog.
Yeah, like, sorry, nice try, but you're going, you know? And I was just kind of like, all right, you know? And I have a love-hate with Jimmy Steele. You know, I'm not going to try to sit here and say that I hate the man. I don't. He put me on the radio. You know, him and Jeff G put me on the radio on Power 106, one of the biggest stations in Los Angeles at that time, you know? Like, it was big. But will I say that I don't think telling somebody to get fit when they leave, you know, I don't think that's how you go about things. And I think now if that happened, that's some lawsuit stuff, you know, like saying things like that now. So, there was just like little mishaps that I dealt with. And it's like I said, it's no hate or anything. Like I needed that in order to be where I'm at now.
For sure. I feel like a lot of times those obstacles that, one has to kind of go through, especially maneuvering a career that someone loves, right? Like,
Yeah.
that shit, something that you love at the same time can hurt you is something that's just.
It's a tough thing because you're constantly battling yourself inside. Like, I love this shit so much, but it makes me sad and I cry every day. Yeah. Why am I doing this? But then it's like you have that passion. Yeah. And I think that's why I never gave up, dude. Yeah. Like, as much, I mean, there was just so many situations at Power that happened that I feel like I just like knocked me down, you know? And did I want to give up? Yeah, but I didn't. And I think about that. Like, I never thought about why I didn't give up. I just always like kept going. Like, all right, you need to cry for a few minutes. It's going to be fine, but you're going to get to it. You know, like it's going to be okay. And that was really it. And me even leaving, I think, was the biggest thing. I remember people telling me nobody leaves Power 106. And I'm like, yeah, there's a lot of people that haven't left that are still there too. Like, and that's crazy, you know?
I hearing you talk about it, it just kind of like, it reminds me of like the experience that I went through in towards that end point, right?
Yeah.
Where I'm one of those people that chose to leave, right? I'm one of those people that decided it was my time and everything that I could have done at the station and accomplished. I did I've done above and beyond.
That's a hard pill to swallow, huh? Because it's Power 106. That's the one thing you're like, shit, man.
It still haunts. It still haunts to this day. You know, so there's a lot of times where I'm like, fuck, I could have.
Did I do the right thing? I think that's what you like ask yourself.
Yeah, and you know what? I've done a lot of reflection on it, and which is something that I wanted to kind of know about you too, and I'll definitely ask you about it. Is a lot of reflection that I've done since I left Power. Since I picked up graduate school for my career that I'm doing now, and then envisioning like, how can I mesh the two together, right? Which is the result is this, right? But I think in that reflection, a lot of what happened for me was, what is my purpose at Power, right? And for me, it was like the connection. Mm-hmm. I've always been about connecting with people, and speaking of Jimmy Steele, when he would train me with the talk breaks, he'd always be like, who are you talking to?
Right.
Because a lot of my breaks would be like, y'all or
you guys. That was the one thing he would press me on too. Like, if you need to put a picture up of somebody in there, if you need to think about your one friend, you're talking to one person. That was that
was the shit that stuck to me the most ever since then, and all my talk breaks since then were directed to that one person listening through the speakers, right? Yeah. And so I felt that I got really good at it, right? Yeah. And I connected with people and hearing people's responses, or, I 3 out of the 4 or 5 talk breaks that I'd done in an hour always included a listener.
Had to.
Because I just love the connection part of it. And so for me, I found the purpose of, I want to connect with people, but on a deeper level, more than just breaking new music, right? Mm-hmm. And so that was the hard pill to swallow. I was like, am I leaving this big ass entity to
this brand
fall on my ass?
Right.
Start from scratch?
Really?
Identity issues to the max?
I know. Trust me, I get it completely. It was really hard for me to leave Power. Yeah. And I had a contract. Yeah. Like, everybody that I tell that to, they're like, Gabby, like, you had a whole job in the Bay Area.
Must be nice.
I know, right? I know. Trust me. We're never satisfied. You already know this. But yeah, so I had a contract on the table, and I just remember going up there and thinking to myself, like, did I mess up? Should I have stayed? Maybe I just had to like stay and they would have known. And also it was like kind of a culture shock. I went from being in LA, having events almost every single night, going out, networking, meeting people, hosting a club. I was doing all that kind of stuff when I was here. Then I go up to the Bay and it's like, whoa, hold on. Yeah. Now I got to sit here in my thoughts. Yeah. Now I'm here in this empty apartment by myself. Yeah. I don't even know where I'm at, who I'm with. I don't know my boss like that. I don't know anybody. Like, I just had too much time to think being up there. And so I really threw myself into the company being in the Bay Area to where I, just made myself more available. Like, I started tracking a bunch of stations, within the company, like, especially when the pandemic hit, like, there was a big cut at iHeart. So all the other jocks had to pick up all of that. And I mean, when the pandemic hit, like when that cut happened, I was doing like almost 8 shows a day at one point. Like, and that's crazy. Like, in different cities that I had to be local to, you know, that I had to like make sure that it was unique to that location of where the show was at. And I was just drowning. Like, at that time, I was doing nights and I was getting to the station at like 10 a.m. to make sure that all my stuff was done before I hopped on the air at 7, you know? And I was just like, dude, this is crazy. And then they moved me up to afternoons, which was great because I was like, wow, like I'm moving up. They see something in me. They hear my ratings. I want to be the Angie Martinez of California. Like, not even the Bay, California. Like, I want to do this. And then I got sick. I got Hashimoto's disease, and that really like threw a bunch off for me too up there. So yeah, and then I was like kind of trying to get that stable for 6 months, and then I kind of got full force in it, and then I was still tracking a bunch of stations. But then I got big into the VO stuff. The VO is actually where I make a lot of my bread and butter. You know what I mean? Like, I voice a lot of stations. I recently just signed with a new agency.
I've seen that.
So
congrats.
thank you. I appreciate that. I'm really excited because I'm hoping like I get some TV out of it. Like, that's the one thing that I really want is the next level for the voiceover for me. But yeah, like, I just think like reflecting on a lot of things and then coming back to LA, that was even hard in itself.
Yeah. It's almost like you had to assimilate twice. Right?
Yeah, because it was like I wanted to be here so bad. And I almost, like, back in 2018, I thought I was maybe going to come back because I started doing some part-time work on Reel and stuff like that. So I was like, okay, maybe this could happen. Maybe they're going to find a spot for me. That didn't work out like that. I was taken off like the end of 2018. But I voiced that station now, so that's cool. Like, that kind of worked out for me. But like coming back to LA, I remember just like, I didn't come back because I had a job at KISS. I think a lot of people think
They assume that.
They assume that. I came back because my mom was about to lose her house. That pandemic had hit her hard. My mom is an independent contractor. She does hair, you know, and I had gotten that call from her like, hey, like, I don't know what I'm going to do. And she was not going to the Bay. My mom hates the Bay Area. So I talked to my boss, Mark Adams, and I let him know. I was like, hey, like, I'm kind of in a sticky situation. Like, I don't know what to do. I don't want to quit. I love Wild, you know, but I don't know what to do. And he was just like, we'll figure it out. Get back. You need to take care of your mom. And so I appreciated him so much for that because he could have let me go. He could have done who knows what. You know what I mean? So I came back to LA. I was like working from home, and it's just so funny how things work out because I moved back to LA in April of 21, and that June, Father's Day, they had put me on part-time at KISS to like try out. And then that following July, I was just doing the midday shift, but I didn't have the job yet. So I'm like over here, like, am I getting this job? Like, it was months.
That's the worst fucking situation.
Yeah, too, it was months. I was doing middays, and I'm like, if they freaking bring somebody else up in here, I'm going to be so upset and hurt. Like, oh my God, because I was in there every day. I was already building relationships with listeners. Ass. Yeah, like, I was ready. I'm like, let's do this, you know? And I remember August, I was going to Cabo with my homegirls, and I was at the airport, and I get a call. And they told me, like, hey, we're going to go with you for middays. Like, we're building up your contract. We still want you on at Wild 94.9 in the Bay. At that time, I was on in San Diego and Tucson. So they were like, we're going to probably take that away, you know, or whatever. But we still want you predominantly on in LA and at San Francisco. So I was glad that they didn't take Wild from me because I built something up there. You know, I had built my name. I had built relationships with listeners. Like, and I love the Bay Area. Like, that's my second home. I have family there.
Onto like your IG lives when you were over there.
Yeah, I would do. I mean, it's just, you know me, like, I'm goofy. Like, I'm always constantly cracking jokes or trying to make somebody smile or laugh, and that's probably like a defense mechanism, honestly, or probably some way to like protect myself or something like that. But I think that's the one thing that people relate to me on is because it's like, hey, we could get in our feelings right now, but let's go ahead and laugh real quick, you know? Like, let's laugh it off real quick.
It's the time you got to get serious. That shit gets real serious.
Right. No, and you know, I know I need to get serious, and I'm very aware of that. Therapy has helped. We've talked about that. You know, being vulnerable isn't a bad thing. So I get that.
You know, the beautiful segue for the therapy talk here.
Q's trying to therapy me, y'all.
You know, what are the things that, I mean, fuck, hearing the entire story, and I'm sure as in media goes, there's always going to be other stories that tie in. Right, we can never get the full story out.
Well, there's always, I mean, any radio personality, regardless if they've been on for 1 year, 5 years, 20 years, have stories.
For sure.
For days. We've all experienced something one way or another, some wild stuff. Like, it's just,
Your endeavors, especially as a woman in media, first of all, commendable. And what can you share as that experience in,
it's hard.
Firsthand in that?
It's hard being a woman sometimes in a space that's all men. A lot of men run these stations. A lot of men run these corporations. I'm so grateful that I have a woman program director, for KISS, like Beata. She's incredible. Like and she's just a boss. Like, that you see that walking in the hallway, you see her, that's some boss stuff. And I think having somebody like that to like see, I think helps. Yeah. When you don't, it's hard. Like when you don't see women in power, like it's tough. And it makes you kind of wonder, like, okay, is this, like, I could go and talk to this person, but are they going to get me right now? Like, are they going to understand my struggle? Like, I think about that. So I'm grateful for my program director in the Bay, Mark Adams, because he did make me feel comfortable. He made me feel heard. I never felt like I had an obstacle really because I was a woman. And granted, Mark has all women mostly on the station. Like he has a woman in middays, has a woman in the afternoon, a woman at night. Like we're all women on that station, So, and that's where I love that too. Like I love that he's so pro women and knows that we could take it. Like we could handle it. It's fine. And the station's doing great, So I think the fact that he even took that risk and did that, like that's a big deal.
For sure. Do you think, I want you to kind of like tap into, I guess the theme of purpose in the conversation earlier, where, what do you think it was that you decided to pursue radio? I mean, not a lot of stories we hear of like, I want to be a radio host when I grow up.
No, that was not me. I did not want to be a radio host. I went to cosmetology school. My mom did hair my whole life, so she owned a salon. I grew up in a hair salon. So I went to cosmetology school, but it was not for me. I did it because I think my mom wanted me to do it, and the thing is too, like for people in hair and cosmetology, beauty, like when you go to school, you do 1,600 hours. I did 1,000. And I dropped out. I had 600 hours left to go. That's not a lot, like I could have finished, but I was just unhappy. I was so done. And then I was working at this company, Hotlook at the time. I was doing like member care styling stuff for them. And I had gotten an email from Power and they had asked me like, hey, do you want to come up for like, we're going to ask you how you listen to the station, like how often, and we're going to give you dinner and concert tickets.
You were part of the
listener panel.
Oh, shit.
That's how I got hired. Okay. Literally. And I had walked in and I was just being myself, being goofy. Like, I've always been this way.
Yeah.
So Jimmy, that's where he pulled me aside and he was just like, hey, have you ever thought about doing radio? Like, I don't know, like you have a good voice. Like they had me do a bunch of drops that day. Yeah. And then I was like, no, I mean, I've always loved music. I was always into hip hop, like always a music head. I mean, I love every genre, to be honest. Minus country, not gonna lie to you. But minus country, not really a big fan.
You're missing out on Tennessee whiskey.
I knew. I think I heard something on your stories one day. But they had just asked me like, yo, we want to know what your thoughts are. Like, are you down for something like this? And I was just kind of like, I'll get back to you. And I didn't really think anything of it. Got the concert tickets. And then I was so pissed off one day at my job. And I was just like, I'm going to kill my boss. I need to get out of here. Like, I need to remove myself. So I emailed Jimmy Steele and I was like, hey, I'm really over my job. I need a change. Here's my resume. Let me know what you think. I don't know what you got open or, but let me know. So I had gotten a call from Junior like later on that week. And he's like, hey, do you want to come in and audition? And I didn't audition like that. I interviewed. I just interviewed. And then I literally got a call 3 months later that I got the job. That I got the job. And then I was like, okay, I'm done. I'm out of here. And I just really switched up my whole I guess, career path or like what I envisioned, because I always was into fashion, always into beauty, like all of that. But like I said, I didn't really want to do hair or anything like that. I could see myself do more makeup, but my mom was pressing me on doing the whole license. And I'm like, I don't want to do this. Like, this is not what I want. And then I feel like me getting to Power just kind of put everything into perspective. It was like almost like I was in the right place at the right time.
Yeah.
You know, and I fell in love with it like instantly. Like my first event, I'll never forget it. It was with Nez Nice and Frank Dizzle, and we were like in Pasadena on Lake Street in the middle of the intersection at a Metro PCS on the mic, getting people like it was the best time I had in a long time. And I was like, dude, I want to do this.
When you know, you had a lot of like changes in your life, right? Especially in radio, still being in radio.
Yeah.
From going to LA to the Bay, from going back home because of you know, personal reasons. Do you, knowing what we know now, obviously it's like you had such a big endeavor and a big journey, right? And it's a respectable one.
Thank you.
But when you first start off in media, especially in radio, you tell that to somebody who has been pushing you to do something different, right? Or to expect something different of you. You get a lot of like pushback and resistance.
Oh, you're crazy. Or you're going to get $8.25 an hour versus the 20 you were making, you know? Like, oh yeah, my friends and family, I think, looked at me crazy at that time. My mom, I feel like, bit her tongue a lot with it because I think she saw how much it was like I was just hustling. Like, I mean, at one point when I was the coordinator at Power, I was hosting so many clubs. Like, I was doing a lot of hostings at that point. Like, even doing like screenings on the side. Like, I would get hired by the studios on the side to do that stuff. And I saw the money that was able to be made, and I was like, if I just like push myself a little harder, I can make this, and I could pay my mom back for this, or you know, whatever. So I think she saw that and was kind of like, all right, like let me just let her do her thing. And then when I got the job in the Bay, I think that's where she was like, oh shit, like this is serious, like you're about to move, you know. And I'm grateful that it was still in California because people move to like small ass cities like Albuquerque or, you know, like to go do radio. And I just couldn't imagine being that far away. You know, like that would scare me a little bit.
Especially like in a small little room with
like I have a studio, like a little board. Like I mean, I was on in Palm Springs, I was on in Vegas, San Diego. Like I was on in smaller cities where you see their studios versus the Power 106 studio, and you're like, wait a minute, this looks way different. You know,
they were definitely spoiled, as they said.
You realize that when you're in a smaller city, right? Like you're like, well, they didn't do this way at Power, and it's like, well, we're not Power, okay? Like. You got to get over that. I'm like, okay, sorry, my bad.
I mean, I'm curious to know how you navigated that feeling of, I mean, plainly put, almost feeling like alone in that journey, right? Because not a lot of people were understanding of making decisions. And I think that goes for a lot of people is we're scared to make those jumps because it's a jump that's out of the norm.
Oof, I was so scared. I remember moving up there. My mom had drove me up. And I slept the whole way. And I just think and I think about that, like I slept the whole way because I just like didn't want to like believe it, I think. Like I didn't want to believe that this was happening. And then I remember like I had to go to a hotel, you know, going up there, and like she just like dropped me off. She's like, okay, I'm going. And I'm like, wait, like what? Like you're leaving? I thought you were gonna stay for a little bit. Like I had no. It was so, I'll just never forget that feeling of like being in San Francisco for the first time and just like, did I mess up? Like, you can't help it because it's a scary thing. But I think my first year in, I was like, all right, I don't think I messed up. I think I made the right choice. Mark helped me so much. And then not to mention, like, I got to shout out my girl, Drina Gonzalez, too, who does Middays on Wild, because she is like the big sis I never had. Like, she looks out for me so much and just was there for me to vent to her. And I think I built my community out there. And I think that helped a lot, you know? I have like a handful of friends that they're for lifers, you know, like that I'll never forget, that I'm so grateful for, because if I didn't have them, who knows what could have happened being in that, like, you know, alone state. Cause that's hard. Like, how do you like, And then you're like, do I quit? Do I just go back home? Then I'm giving up. Then your mind is like playing tricks on you constantly while you're in this room by yourself with friends on in the background. Like that was my life. It was for a long time. And then once I finally started building, and I think once I got to afternoons, I think that's where I really like, all right, I do this. Like I had confidence. I didn't really have confidence either. Like when I was doing nights, like, yeah, like I had confidence on a mic, like put me in front of a crowd on a mic, like, yeah, you ain't got shit on me, shut up. Like that was me, like a little bit of confidence there. But like being on air and then at night and like being by yourself in that studio, like I really lacked the confidence for sure.
I think you said something that's like real as it gets, right? You turn on the mic and it's a different person.
Yeah.
Almost, right?
It's somebody different that you're like, oh, wait a minute. Like, is this me? Yeah. Is that, like you have to turn it on, and I was faking the funk there for a while in my night show. Cause I just had to be okay. Yeah.
The number one thing that leads to happiness in a person's life is like the social connections.
Yeah.
And no matter how broke you are, no matter how rich you are, if you're the most healthiest person or on your deathbed, the people that have the most connections and strong relationships were the happiest of them.
Totally. No, I mean, being able to have people to fall back on, like, especially when you're by yourself, I think is very helpful. But honestly, I think the thing that kept me going was the fact that I was able to help my mom. That was the fact that I was able to like give her money if she needed it. Like, and I was going to be okay. I wasn't going to struggle. Yeah. I was good. So I think that is what really kept me going because she's all I have. So it's like, yo, if she's not good, then I'm not going to be okay if I don't have her. So it's like, I got to make sure that she's fine. Yeah. Like, I got to make sure that, and my mom's like older, like my mom had me at 35. So like my mom is 70 right now. And I worry about that. I'm like, I'm her only kid. Like I stress. And that was another thing too, like being up in the Bay, like because I knew she was older, that was like worrying me too. Like I was like, I'm not home. Like if I called her and she wouldn't pick up the phone, I would freak out. Like I would freak out. Like I would call my friends, like, can you go check out my house and make sure my mom's okay? Because I don't know what's going on. Or I'd call her boyfriend. Like that's like, that would be my anxiety.
How the roles change.
Right, 100%. And she laughs about it even now. She's like, when you would be out in Pasadena drunk, and I'd be worried. I'd be like, stop talking about life mix, Mom. Stop it.
What was the biggest turning factor you think when? I mean, Mom was the person you try to impress the most. I'm presuming here.
Well, yeah. I mean, my dad, he's like in and out of my life. Like, and it's funny too because my dad's a background actor. My dad, if you've probably seen a couple of commercials with my dad, like he's just done some stuff that you'll see. Like, and I'm like, oh, there's my dad. Like, we'll be like, for example, I was watching a episode of Insecure, and my dad plays like the mechanic in the episode, and I'm like, and I'm watching it with a friend. I'm like, oh yeah, that's my dad. Like that's my dad right there. So it's ironic how I ended up in this position, considering like he kind of comes in the entertainment industry too. But like, yeah, our relationship is very up and down. So my mom is my everything. You know what I mean? So yeah, she was pressing me to do cosmetology, at one point, but the one thing I knew always like is that it always came from a good place. Yeah. It wasn't like, oh, because she wanted me to do this because of this reason for her. It was always like, hey, you're good at this. You should try this, like, and she knew I was good at hair at the time. Like I was into makeup. I was into all that. So I get why, but and I think she gets it, now, like how I had to take matters into my own hands and just do something that I wanted to do, whether you were not going to understand it or not, like I think when you know.
One of the things you said earlier was, you use the goofiness as a defense mechanism or,
maybe what not necessarily a defense mechanism. What's a way to protect me maybe, or there's a word for it, but it's like not coming out. But yeah, I think I use that as just a way to, like, I don't know. I make everything into a joke, and I think that just helps me in a way. Not necessarily to not be serious, because I know there's a time and place to be serious, and I get that you don't want to make everything a joke. But also that's just a part of my personality. Like, I love to make people laugh. Like, if I could crack a little smile out of you, like, you've given me so much, you have no idea. Like, and especially because you just don't know what people are going through inside. Like, I know people don't like to talk. You know, I'm one of them. Like, and I work out. I talk for a living. How crazy ironic, is that? Right? How crazy is that? Yeah, I know. And it's funny too, because I feel like the pandemic maybe messed me up a little with that.
How so?
Like, with my socialness, like awkwardness, maybe. I don't know. Like, it was almost like I curled up into a ball, and I just didn't want anybody to know anything about me. Yeah. Like, I wouldn't go on live anymore. I used to do stories, like, wasn't doing that stuff anymore. Like, you know, and I think about that. I'm like, damn, I feel like the pandemic, like, really messed me up with that. And I don't know why, because we were all at home. Yeah. We were all on, like, you know, streaming something. I was still on the radio. I wasn't, you know, so it was weird. I kind of don't know how that happened, but.
I don't know. I hear you on that, though, for sure.
Yeah.
You know, not necessarily the actual happenings of the pandemic, but I think it was having that time by yourself. You kind of just are forced to reevaluate or think about certain things you've never thought about, or you're forced to sit your ass down.
Right.
And you think, why do you think all these challenges happen
in life?
For you, yeah.
I don't know. I think I sabotage myself a lot. Like, I'm for sure the queen of that. I think I get in my own way a lot. Like, I have so many ideas with certain things, you know, and I'm not going to do it because, you know, I think I get in my own way a lot. Yeah. And I've learned that with therapy, and she's trying to help me, you know, get out of that. Because it's like, it's having the confidence, you know, and it's like, I have it, but sometimes I don't.
Well, I think the pandemic also probably interfered with confidence, right?
For sure.
It's like you're on a roll with something, and then all of a sudden it comes to a halt.
It's like, hold on.
Start from fresh again. Yeah. Am I doing it right?
Yeah. And then the thing is, too, I was so overwhelmed with all the shows I had to do. It was like, I didn't want to focus on my brand one bit. I had 8 shows I had to come up with content for, local stories, this, that, and the third. I'm like, dude, the last thing I want to do right now is go home and try to think of a podcast idea or a video or whatever.
It's fucking refreshing to hear that I am not alone in all these things.
You're not.
That you're describing, for sure.
Because it's hard, because I feel like a lot of the times as radio hosts, because you were a radio host, you know, as radio hosts, we always have to be turned on. Yeah. The moment we're not, it's a problem. It's a big problem.
It's a shock to people.
Yeah, it's like, yo, what? You're always smiling. Why are you not smiling today? And it's like, I'm a human. I'm allowed to not smile today.
Why are you depressed, bro?
Yeah, and it's like, I'm not depressed. I'm having a freaking day. Leave me alone. Yeah, like, just because I'm not as talkative maybe as I was yesterday doesn't mean it's anything towards you. Like, it's not. And that's the thing, too. I think a lot of people take things personal sometimes. And I'm one of them. I'm the queen of it. I get it. But sometimes it's just not even about you. It's just, like I said, it's that battle inside, and you're just like, I don't know how to handle this. I'm trying to navigate it, so don't take it personal, you know? Like, just, it's hard. But like I said, I think therapy's really helped me a lot. I feel like last year I grew a lot while going through a lot of things, and I don't know what I would have done without my therapist in those situations. I had a lot of loss last year. Like, I had just kicked off the year with losing my grandma. Then, you know, my coworker JV had passed away. And then it was like, I was battling myself during the summertime. I was just like kind of not feeling good being back in LA. I was like, dang, like, is this what it is? Like, I don't know. Like, I don't know. I didn't feel good being back. And so, like, and I was battling myself a lot, you know, thank God for my therapist and working out, because I think that, like, helped me stay afloat. But mentally I was just not okay. Like I said, sabotaging myself, just not thinking I was good enough, overthinking everything, when it was like, Gabby, you've been doing this. Like, you have like 7 years on your belt, you know, like you've been doing this. You know what you got to do. You know what you got to do when you turn that mic on, you know, like, why are you questioning everything? I just really got in my head about everything last year. And then, like, ending the year, losing like one of my best friends, that was tough. And this is where you might get me to cry. Because that's just, losing Senna was like, man, that was a hard one.
Yeah, for sure. You know, I think a lot of these things that happen in life are something that's gonna persevere us and build into that resiliency.
Oh, and the thing is, Senna would not like. She'd be like, "What?" Like right now, I feel like this bitch is probably looking at me like, "Why are you fucking crying? Shut up!" Like, she was always like my biggest fan, and like, she wouldn't want me to stop.
Yeah,
ever. Like, she was always on my ass about everything. Like, always on my ass. So that's why I'm just like, I have to keep going. Like, I have to, especially because of her.
yeah,
Like, have to.
for sure.
And mind you, I was in here talking so much shit, talking about I'm not gonna cry. Fuck this. You're not gonna get me to cry. But I brought up Senna, so that was bound to happen.
That's all good. And you know, Gabby, I appreciate the fact that you're normalizing these emotions and you're normalizing the hardships too, because you know the whole quest for me here is, you know, obviously I want to tap into like the whole media personality part of myself. Sure, like I can do that, right? I can sit here and be like, yeah, you know, like new music,
1 2
new at 2,
Drizzy. No, I get
but
it.
I think one of the biggest things, and I talked about purpose earlier, and you've been touching on it a lot, is I found a way to connect with people on radio, like I was saying earlier, right? And then I am now putting this into a new connection on how to still connect with the listener as if I was on radio.
Right.
And I think one of the biggest things that I always felt was personality will always lead you to a person's true colors, right?
Oh, yeah.
And I'm sure you've had a lot of listeners that constantly message you every day and try to uplift you or share
totally.
that love and
it's crazy. Like,
yeah.
I think for me with my listeners, how I connect is relatability. That's always been it for me. Like, I am not a size 2. I am not, like, I have spots on my teeth. I had chicken pox down my throat as a kid where, I don't have the perfect teeth. I got a big nose, like I'm your everyday homegirl that you're going to see at your job or at the gym or whatever. And I think that's the one thing that I love being at KISS is because, like, I'm born and raised in LA. Like, I'm from here, and a lot of my listeners are exactly like me. Yeah. Like the working woman or the working mom, that is trying to get by, trying to make sure she feels good while doing it. Yeah. You know what I mean? And I think that's who the majority of my listeners are. Like, I get the ladies that call me up, that are like, Gabby, you're my good luck charm. I only win with you. Like, I don't know what it is. I only win with you. Or, Gabby, I heard you talking about the gym today. I got back in the gym today because you said that. Yeah. Like, things like that. And that's always what it's been for me is relatability. Like, if you can relate to me or if I can relate to you, we're gold. We can come together and we can know that we're not alone. Yeah. And I think that's the one thing. Like, and a lot of people actually listen to the radio because of that, because they feel alone. But because like someone like you and I are talking to them, they don't feel like they're alone.
I remember someone called me from jail, bruh.
I've had a couple of those too.
I forget his name. Oh my God, it would have been perfect. He always called. Yeah. Always. And yo, Q, what up?
Dude, I have so much jail mail. Yeah. Like legit photos. I'm like, why would you send me this photo? This is a childhood photo from you. Like, what? Like, but no, like, that's the thing though. Yeah. Like, even people in jail. When I was in the Bay, I used to do this thing called CMC TV. Okay. And it's kind of like a TRL, but for the Bay. It was definitely way lower budget. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, they'd play music videos like and stuff like that. It was really dope. And then they'd have a host come on in between and introduce, whatever. They would play that in jails, So like I had so much jail mail from San Quentin. Like, I can't even tell you how much mail. And then, like, them telling me stories like, yeah, Smiley's in the cell next to me. And he just, like, tried to do something, like, crazy shit, like, that I'm reading. I'm like, this is nuts. But the fact that they feel comfortable enough to write to me, like, I love it, Like,
they're people.
Right. They're human beings.
And it's that connection. It's that no judgment, through speakers that allows for that connection to even be on a deeper level. I mean, just by the sound of someone's voice and recognizing the tone, it's like
a familiarity. Like, they feel familiar, And that's important too. Like, when you feel like in a safe space, like, and I hope that my listeners feel that with me, like they feel like they can trust me. They feel like what I'm telling them is the real. And that's mostly what it is. Like, I'm not going to try to sit here and ever say, my thing is I always want to be authentic. And there was a time that I wasn't, like, at all.
I was about to highlight. Keep going.
What were you about to highlight?
I was about to highlight the craziest thing, and the thing with that connects here now is the fact that earlier I asked you, do you think those challenges have done anything for you, right? And I think, and I speak from experience, I think that those challenges and those loss and those connections you had with those people that you truly cared about, who might not be here anymore, or that, mom's still here and you still have that, right?
Right.
I think what we once, if we played our first talk break, like our first official talk break, right? It would be nothing to what our most current.
Oh my God, it's terrible. I showed my air check to somebody. Yeah. I gotta find it. It's terrible. But it was a while ago that I showed them, and they were like, "Who the hell was that?" I was like, I told you.
Well, behind the mic is a person, and that person is always going to keep growing as
right.
time progresses.
But right? but that's the part, and I told you this because being on part-time, I wasn't progressing like that. I was like, I need to get on somewhere full time. I need to get somewhere. And I was applying everywhere. Like, I was ready to go to the small city, but luckily San Francisco had bit. But I think being on full time, it really does like take you to a different level of like, oh, this is what you meant when you were telling me this in the air check and I didn't get it. Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's amazing to know that, and for any profession, but particularly here, because it's familiar to both of us, is the fact that we always have to turn on once that mic is on, all the real life shit, all the worries, all the emotions we've had. Fuck, a breakup could have happened, right? But that mic is on, and
so I got to do this.
Personality that comes out, right? And I think knowing more, and you said, how can I connect more with my listeners? This is fucking one of the ways that they're gonna know Gabby Diaz in a whole nother level, right?
Nah, totally. I mean, it's I was excited when you asked me to be on because I don't, like I said, I don't really speak out. Like like a lot of people don't know me. No. Like people know, like they know I'm goofy, they know I'm funny, they know that like I'll tell you some funny stuff on the radio or what's going on in LA. I love the Lakers and the Dodgers, like things like that. I'll talk sports with you. But like they don't know me. Yeah. Like they don't know the things that I've been through. They don't know that, hey, sometimes I wake up in the morning and I don't feel my best. Yeah. Like I don't want to put hair and makeup on. I want to go to work in sweats. And sometimes I do, like sometimes it's going to happen.
Thank God for radio.
Yeah. And to be honest, like I will post that day too, though, because I want people to see that. Like I do want people to see like, hey, I'm not on my best today, but I just got a facial yesterday and my skin is glowing. So the makeup's not going on, things like that. So it's just, like I said, I think for me, it's always been about being authentic and being real. And it's hard being that in this industry, that. But I think the more you stick to it, the more you stick to like what feels right for you, like it'll start making sense. And it has for me.
Yeah. And thankfully too, right?
Yeah.
Shit, your journey's a stacked one.
Yeah, it's been a long one.
Where are you going?
Well, I mean, I do want to open up more. I do want to do that. I do want listeners to see me in a different light. I'm a big sneakerhead, I'm really into fashion. I'm really into R&B music. I like to box. I like to work out. Like I want to show more of that and like show my personality more. And whether that be a podcast, whether that be just posting more on socials, I'm not sure yet. I'm figuring that part out. But I do want to do that this year. Like that's something that I feel like last year I would constantly tell myself, but then it was like something always getting in the way. And I feel like right now I'm not like telling myself reasons why I shouldn't. And that's how I know I'm in a different headspace, because last year I was coming up with every excuse in the book. Yeah. So it's like now I'm more so like, okay, like I'm taking initiative on like, okay, you're not going to do this alone. You can't do it alone. You're going to need help. And that's okay. Like you can get the help. Like that's fine. Yeah. And so now it's like, all right, I'm finding this person for this or this person for that. I also like really like I don't know that it'll come out this year, but like something that I really want to do. I really want to start a clothing brand.
What was it that was stopping you last year?
Last year, I think like I said, I was just like really mentally not okay. Like I like last year I didn't really date at all. Like I'm single. Like this year, like well, towards the end of last year, I started kind of dating a little more and, putting myself out there and but yeah, I think I just like I said, I sabotaged myself. It was like I would come up with an idea and then I'd sit there and list reasons why not to do it.
Yeah.
Like in my brain, like literally overthinking this whole thing. Like I'd be on the air sitting there like, oh, this would be cool. Nah, but then this, and then there's this, and then that. And then, I'm like, all right, I got to do this talk break.
You put up your own obstacles without them being there.
Right. Like I said, I came up, I've always been like that too, like to get in my own way with certain things. But like radio, not really. VO, not really. Yeah. And I don't know, like I don't really know how that works. And I'm sure it's like
kind of like we're forced to be the superhero within us.
Right. Like, well, I think too, because I put so much work into it, it's like, bitch, what are you doing? You really gonna fuck this up right now? Like, you got to keep going. Like, come on. So I think there was that, but like the side projects and stuff, I guess would make me nervous. I don't know. Like sometimes it's hard. You get lost in the sauce. And that's what it was last year. Like I was just a cluster. My brain, like whoever, like if you were able to live in my brain last year, like you would probably think I was a psychopath. Like the way my thoughts would go, like I remember telling my therapist that I'm like, dude, like, am I crazy? Like, I'm the way that I'm thinking, like one thing and then the next, I'm like, this is nuts. Yeah. Like, this is insane. She's like, you're not crazy. Stop telling yourself that you're crazy because the more that you say that out loud, you're going to start believing it. And I was like, you're right, sis. I feel you. Yeah. I get you. Because it's true. Like, no one's gonna love you the way you're gonna love you. Right. And I learned that like a lot last year. I was like, I have been neglecting myself for so many years. And this was the first year that I finally did something for me. Like went to therapy and started working out consistently. Like that was the first time that I had did that. And I felt such a difference, even though it was a hard year. Yeah. But if I didn't have those two things last year, like I said, I don't know what would have happened. Like I don't know how things could have played out. Like I said, I'm just grateful that I did that for myself because ain't nobody was going to come and save me with that.
The therapist in me right now is like super happy for you. And I have like this smile on my face because I'm acknowledging just all the self-love that you're giving yourself, which is the most important part in life in general, right? Especially for media personalities that, put others before themselves. And when I say others, it's because we're serving people, right? It's not just about giving 2 fucking Six Flags tickets on there. No. It's about turning that person's life for that moment upside down. Right?
Whether it's a 5-second talk break, a 30-second talk break, I think all of us radio personalities have something. We want you to take something away from that talk break, like something that you felt, whether it be a grin, whether you were mad, whatever. We wanted something,
I'm fucking pumped for you at this point.
Yeah, man. It was a long time coming. Yeah. Like I said, I neglected like that whole time in the Bay. I neglected myself, like I gave myself to like I like hate saying it like this, but I really feel like I gave myself to the company that like those years that I was there because it was like I didn't really have a personal life like that. Like, yeah, I would go out here and there, but I was in the Bay for work, and that's what I was doing, working.
That's that hungry stage.
Yeah, like and I needed to do that because I was not in a good mental space, up there either. Granted, I was in a better space being in the Bay than I was last year, even. I will say that, but like I figured it out and I made it work, and I like have to pat myself on the back for that because I didn't for a long time. So it's like the moment you realize like, hey, you did this, like I love you for that. You figured it out, it hits a little different. It feels different. It's different going from not loving yourself to loving yourself. Like that's a big like I can't explain it. Like it's a different like you feel full in a sense.
I'm glad that you found the person for you, and I'm glad
me too.
that you've been doing a lot of self-discoveries and
For sure.
realizations and growing from yourself. And I think one of the things that, you know, in your entire story is that despite no matter how hard life brought you back up, it's never about how hard you fall, but it's about how
you get back up. Yeah, that's a big thing, because a lot of times you don't want to. You do not want to get back up. You're like, you know what? Fuck this. I'm not doing this. This is too much. This is not worth it. But you have to get back up.
And we gotta normalize too. Fucking, it's okay to sit down, stay on the floor for about 5 minutes for yourself.
Yeah, I think that's the thing too. Like, it's funny, when I moved back to LA, I felt like I had to just like get back into it, right? Like, oh, well, now that I'm back in LA, you're hosting clubs again. You're going to do this. You're going to do that. You're going to, you know, and it's like, no, that's not reality. I think realizing what's important too, you know, because sometimes like all the BS that comes with the industry is not important. We could definitely let it go. We hold on to it. We choose to. We don't have to. You know, like I said, that's another thing. Like sometimes we don't even realize how much we're doing it to ourselves. Mm-hmm. And I definitely am the queen of that. Man.
Well, Gabby, I appreciate you normalizing the person behind the mic.
Thank you.
And to everyone that has ever had self-doubt and ignores just that little time that they need for themselves, you know, we see how important and how much more glowing, you know, of a result it is for in your experience.
For sure.
Hopefully they take that home with them.
Learn to love you. Like, for real. Like, I know it sounds crazy, because when my therapist was like, do you love yourself? I was like, why are you asking me that? Like, I got very defensive. Like, so that's what I'm saying. Like, it's hard. It is. But is life ever easy? It's not. So it's just a matter of how you get back up.
Yeah. I think one of the biggest things, and I'll leave it off at that, is my mindset of life changed when I told myself there's not a life without a problem. Right? There's people always are fixated on, I want a life that has no problems, and if there's a problem, it's the worst shit ever, and I got to deal with it, but it's going to tax me.
Right.
Right. But when you understand that life is a journey constantly filled with problems, you start to shift your mindset into, how can I become the best problem solver in life to therefore never be affected by anything that comes my way.
It's all about the solution. All about the solution. Figure that out.
I appreciate you, Gabby.
I appreciate you.
Know, I'm wishing you the best.
Thank you.
I'm always a fan behind the screen,
Thank you.
You know, whenever we connect in person.
Yeah.
And I appreciate you for giving me the opportunity to be where I'm at now, because you were the first yes that I got to get on radio.
That's all it takes.
Fulfill all the rest, right?
That's all it takes. Dude, I mean, listen, we saw it in you, and you got on I remember seeing you get on the air and was just like, I'm so happy for him, because I know you wanted that. Yeah. So, and I'm happy for you for this podcast. I'm super excited to see where it goes. I think you're going to have a lot of meaningful conversations that I think people are going to take a lot away from. So
appreciate that.
Don't stop it.
Appreciate it, Gabby. Thank you.
Thank you.